Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So this is a video I've been wanting to do for a very long time. It's probably going to take a little bit longer than a normal video, probably around 12 minutes or so. Let me turn out the brightness on my screen real quick. But yeah, so we have Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Bernie Sanders. This would pretty much be one of the most hotly contested Democratic primaries we've seen in a very long time. It would be something that would be very unknown to most of us as to who we would vote for if you vote in the Democratic primary or if you're an independent in an open state. Voting between these two, I mean, that would be something that's going to be very critical for Democratic voters, and if this splits the party, it could likely mean the downfall of either candidate, but it's not likely to happen considering the Trump presidency and how much it would essentially affect their presidential bids. It wouldn't necessarily look the greatest for either candidate if they didn't unify, so I believe that this actually could go on to a contested convention. I don't think it'll be a landslide for either candidate, obviously, and I don't think that it will be somewhat of a blowout or anything. I believe that this will come down to the wire. We're going to see something a little bit similar to the 2016 map, but not exactly similar. There are other states that need to be factored in. But yeah, so starting off in the Midwest, let's start off with Bernie Sanders' territory. He's pretty much well known. So we'll start off with states like Montana. So Idaho, Montana, these are states that are probably going to go to Bernie Sanders. Clinton had a good showing in Montana, but I still think that overall, when it came down to it, I think Sanders would have a stronger ground game come 2020. People know his name. People did know his name before, but it wasn't as well known as it is now. Obviously, he's better known in the black community in different parts of the country compared to where the early primaries gave Hillary Clinton a very early lead that eventually led to her nomination. Wyoming, this would be Sanders' territory. Kansas, I mean, almost every county in Kansas voted for Bernie Sanders, so I believe that he would carry that. Nebraska we'll come back to. South Dakota and North Dakota we'll also come back to. But the state of Utah, I'm thinking this is Sanders' territory. Progressive states like Washington, Oregon, and Hawaii, this would pretty much be an area for Sanders to gain momentum and gain a lot of voters. However, in the Deep South, although Sanders' name is very well known amongst the black community nowadays, Hillary Clinton's victories, winning almost every county in almost all the southern states, that would be something that would definitely propel Biden to getting close to the nomination. Him being tied very closely to the Barack Obama administration, this is an area where the African-American vote is very involved, and without it, you can't win the Democratic primary. I mean, essentially the Black Belt, or the Bible Belt, I mean, in general, has a majority of African-American voters that vote for the Democratic Party. I'm seeing them coming out for Biden. I don't see a possibility. Although Sanders did march for them, and he did, everything works in his favor for civil rights, he's not as known as Biden would be. Biden is extremely well known, especially amongst the black community, because of, again, Barack Obama. You know, it's not going to be easy for Sanders to overturn a number of those voters who are voting with the Obama-era Democrats time and time again. So I'm just going to give these states to Joe Biden. Going up to the Northeast, though, I think this could be an area for Sanders to pick up. New Hampshire included, Maine included, Massachusetts, I think that one would be very close. We'll come back to that one. Rhode Island, though, I think that would be a Sanders pickup, not a pickup Sanders win. New York, very close as well. Not very close, sorry. It would be very close between these two. But going over to down past that to Pennsylvania, I'm thinking would go to Biden. Considering that he definitely helped Obama down in the state in 2008, a number of Democratic voters would come out for Joe Biden. Delaware, of course, his home state. The state of Maryland, I know pretty well. They would definitely vote for Joe Biden. The District of Columbia, huge African-American population. But Virginia, I think that would also go to Joe Biden. New Jersey, yeah, you could call that one for Joe Biden, considering how far out it is in the primary. But I'm thinking that it'll be a Biden victory. As for West Virginia, though, easy win for the Bernie Sanders campaign. Kentucky, Hillary Clinton did win this state, but I think that Sanders could actually get a number of voters from the state of Kentucky. Indiana, another state that I think Bernie Sanders could carry. Ohio, though, that would be something that would be very good for a Biden pickup. I'm thinking that Biden could carry the state of Ohio. State of Michigan. I actually think Biden could carry Michigan. Although Sanders does have a really good ground campaign with progressive voters, I think that the state of Michigan pretty much only went away from Hillary Clinton because of her scandals, so I'm thinking that this could be a possibility for Biden, someone who comes with the same Obama-era voters, and picking up a couple more. Wisconsin, though, that's pretty much a lost cause. I think that Sanders would carry them. Going over to Illinois, I'm thinking that Sanders could carry Illinois. That's also something different from what we saw in 2016, and the state of Iowa. So I'm thinking that the energy could be on Biden's side, but a number of his voters are not young voters, and young voters make up a huge part of the electorate in 2020. I'm thinking that Sanders could actually get them out to vote in the Iowa caucus and get them out to caucus for him. Minnesota, though, I'm thinking that it's very close here. It all really would come down to the wire. I think that it could be a Sanders victory. In the state of Missouri, though, again, a part of the South, I believe that Biden would carry that state. Oklahoma would go to Sanders. I think Nebraska could also go to Sanders. South Dakota, I think that would be a Biden victory, but North Dakota would go for Bernie Sanders. Colorado, progressive population, again, going to Bernie Sanders. But yeah, so looking at the map now, going over to Alaska, this could be an area for Bernie Sanders to win. Up in Massachusetts, I'm thinking that Bernie Sanders would have a huge possibility of carrying Massachusetts. I also think Bernie Sanders would carry Connecticut. But the state of New York, I would see staying with Joe Biden. I'm seeing I see Biden's ability to carry a number of voters in the state of Texas. I think he would do very well with Latino voters. But the state of Arizona, progressives definitely are backing a Senate candidate right now, and it's doing a good showing for them. I'm thinking that Bernie Sanders could effectively carry Arizona, but we'll come back to that one in just a moment. I'll actually leave it up for a toss-up. But the state of California, that one's going to be very, very contested. I'm thinking they'd give Bernie Sanders actually a shot this time around. It's a huge state, huge Democratic presence. I still think that Bernie Sanders would be able to carry that state by a narrow, super razor-thin margin. Ultimately, I think it would come down to a contested convention at this point, but state of California, I'm not really seeing it for, I don't really see it for Biden at this point. It would be so up early in the Democratic primary. Biden and Sanders would pretty much be polling at equal. Usually California votes with the eventual nominee, and if it was nearing the end, Biden may seem like he would pull ahead, but it would still go to a contested convention. But I'm thinking with the early out vote, younger voters typically coming out more, Bernie Sanders' groundwork campaign would most definitely be a lot better. I'm thinking that Sanders could carry California. As for the state of Florida, that one's very, very tough. Hillary Clinton did very well in that state, but you know what? That one is going to be something that's going to be really, really tough for a Sanders victory. As for the state of Nevada, I think Bernie Sanders could have a possibility at winning it over Nevada. A number of third-party voters they got a considerable portion of the vote, and that was because they were pretty much tired with the Obama-era Hillary Clinton campaign. Although they did vote for her in the 2016 primary, a number of these primaries would have possibly flipped if they were held later on in the election, in the 2016 primaries, obviously. But yeah, so looking at this map, Biden is ahead right now. The state of Florida, that one's pretty close, but New Mexico, I'm thinking that Biden could carry New Mexico. Arizona, that one would be pretty tough. We'll come back to that one. But the state of Florida, these two states are probably going to be becoming narrow and narrow, considering that the progressive population has gotten bigger in both of these states. After the new wave of Puerto Rican immigrants, they'd probably, looking at where they come from, why they moved to the state of Florida, they would become a huge part of the Democratic electorate. It all comes down to who can bring out voters in a general election campaign. And I think that the state of Florida would probably be a true toss-up. The state of Arizona, I think that one would go to Bernie Sanders. There were a number of election reforms after the 2016 Democratic primary, accounts of voter fraud that were presumable voter fraud. I'm not saying it happened. I'm saying that people believed in it. A lot of new voting rolls in the state of Arizona, and ultimately this comes down to the state of Florida. Now that one was pretty solid for Hillary Clinton. I could call it for Biden and just call it a day, but right now Sanders and Biden are pretty much even. Looking at election polling, I think Sanders may be pulling ahead, but a number of these states, a huge number of the poll numbers are coming from more populated states, you know, it would be very close, but I think Biden could actually edge this one out. But yeah, so I'm going to leave that one in the toss-up column. The way for Sanders to win there would to be get out his ground game, getting out voters, but it would pretty much come down to the state of Florida, and I'm thinking that the state of Florida would go with Joe Biden, effectively making him go to a contested convention. This would not elect him the Democratic nominee whatsoever. A number of these states would actually hold more delegates than their electoral votes compared to other states with the same number of electoral votes because of how the Democratic Party has made the primaries. So I'm thinking that Biden would do well in the South, but I think that Sanders would pretty much sweep a number of states in the North, effectively making this one of the closest primaries we've seen in a while. The state of Michigan, you know, now that I'm coming back to it, the state of Michigan, I thought that Biden would have a chance there. I'm actually going to check the numbers real quick. I believe it was a very close margin. I know they originally called it for Hillary Clinton, which was dumb. But yeah, it was a razor-thin margin, which is why I'm still going to keep this one in the Biden column. But yeah, so looking at the map, I guess we're not disregard the electoral vote, but you can see where Biden obviously is doing better, where Sanders is doing better than last time. Obviously, this is a lot closer than it was in 2016. Ultimately, even if Sanders did win the state of Florida, I think the superdelegates would carry Biden just based off how they voted in the past. I mean, a number of these superdelegates don't care about, even if Bernie Sanders did win the popular vote, they probably wouldn't care, considering that the superdelegate system is made so that the essential party elites decide the primary, disregarding a number of the voters in the popular vote election. But yeah, so this is my finalized map. Thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down if you have any questions below. If you want me to clarify on anything, I'll probably make a more updated prediction of this sooner or later. But yeah, so again, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you all tomorrow.